All righty then. So this is the beautiful barn that Johnette drew from the photo. And how about, Johnette, if you tell us a little bit about, about how you feel about this drawing and what was hard, what went easy.
Okay, because what I did first was when I drew it originally, it was too big. I mean, this part, see this little line here? And there's another line over here. So what I did is I played around on my photocopier and I reduced it by 80%, the size of the button. And then I took it, the reduced one, and then otherwise there would be no room for this little side thing. And rather than start from scratch, I thought that was the best approach.
Right.
So there's like little notations at the top and, different things here that because it was a photocopy and I think it came out, pretty decent,
Yeah.
Not perfect. I just kind of scribbled in the, the bushes around the base. And I don't know if that was in the right spot or not. I don't know if the proportion of the height of the barn to the this little building going off to the side was quite right, but I figure I was working from that reduced copy and just to make sure I had everything completed, had it done in a timely manner rather than start from scratch, because I do tend to draw slow.
Okay.
I don't know if I got the darknesses, the different color, the value right for all of them or not. But, that's, I guess, all the comments I'll say at this point.
Well, okay. So I think this is a great drawing that you did. It really is very good. Very, very good. The roof and, the mountains on either side, like the trees on, and even the little, like there's like this little reservoir or tank or whatever you call it.
Yeah, I didn't know quite what it was. So
like a mini silo there. It's it has a roundness, the extension's good. So, and the little bushes in the front, when drawing from a photo or even from life, wherever there are little bushes, I mean, it's your choice if you want to put them exactly where they are in your view or photo, or if you want to change them to make it more interesting. The way that you drew them, I think that works really well. So I had a couple of suggestions for you. And the first one is, it's actually, this is the second one. Sorry. The first one is this one.
That really looks good.
So do you see here this darker area?
Okay.
So these bushes, they're well placed and the design's pretty good. But if you make them as dark as on this side, it makes it more interesting and defines the little extension better, and even defines the side of the barn a little bit better.
Okay.
So that would be my first suggestion.
Okay.
And the other suggestion is what I showed you. I should go like this. It's this one. So this is the other suggestion that I would, it's also about adding some darks in 3 different areas. See these areas?
Okay.
Because the light comes from the left.
Yes.
So this area here is actually like a side wall that we barely see, but we see it a little bit.
Okay.
and it casts a little bit of a shadow on the barn. So this shadow here, now the shadow here on the barn that is casted by this thing could be darker than what you made it. And this little entranceway is actually pretty dark on the photo, so you could make it darker.
Okay.
Aside from that, I mean,
Really good.
it looks pretty good. What do you think, Leslie?
I think it's great. She's got spot on the roof. Her roof looks the way it should, long. And in comparison to the bottom, it's just really, really good work, I think.
Right. I mean, all the little windows here would add interest, but we said that we would leave them out for now.
Right.
So when you transfer it on watercolor paper, I would tend to do lines a little lighter.
Okay.
Because all these lines are very, very dark on the contour. And when they don't blend with the actual tone of the shape, then they look a little pasted on. Or like, see here on this mountain in the back, we don't see the line at all.
Okay.
And it completely blends with the tone that you use for the mountain. Whereas here, we can see you went very dark. You can actually tone down the line using your kneaded eraser, just press down.
Yes.
It's a good job.
Yeah, I just wanted to make, I don't know, sometimes I have like 3 or 4 or maybe 5 different pencils, so I get carried away. But that's a good idea. Thank you for your suggestions.
All right.
I like your water tank, whatever it is.
Yeah, very round, very nicely done.
I had a hard time with that.
Yeah. So I'm going to open yours, Leslie, in this other program because I haven't had a chance to review or make the annotations. So let's see, drawings, Leslie. So this one here, this is the one that you sent me, I think, yeah. All right, so this is the drawing that you sent me.
Ooh.
It's so in terms of the overall drawing, why don't you tell us, Leslie, you know, what you liked or disliked, or, you know, what was easy, what was hard?
Well, it was hard getting the different tones, you know, the mid, the light, because they're so, you know, in this particular picture, I found it difficult. I also find it difficult doing the roof long enough. I don't think it's long enough. I think, you know, the way I placed it, I think it's pretty good. But that water tank, it looks like the top's falling off. So I had some difficulty with that. And I added the 2 windows on it, but I don't know if I'll include it. I've already done my tracing onto the paper, but both areas on the right greenery under the mountains and the left greenery over the shed need to be darker, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with your comments. The little top here is just a little crooked. That's all it is. That's the only reason why it looks a little upside.
I didn't even know what it was. I couldn't really decipher it, but
yeah,
oh, it is what it is.
Me either. It's a little round reservoir. Maybe they keep propane in there, or maybe that's where they, I don't know, cool something, grains. Yeah. And you're right. I think your barn could be longer if you want to keep within the proportion that we have in the photo.
Yeah.
But that being said, the actual shape of the wall and barn is very well done. The extension reads well with these little windows you added. And you're correct. I would suggest that these trees on either side be a little darker. So I'm going to pick a color like maybe like this. And let's just play with it. Maybe a little thicker. So if we went with a little darker.
Oh, I love that color gray.
Oh.
I'm a gray. Oh, yeah.
So immediately, you know, it reads better. It could be even darker than this, but let's just go like this with the little tree that you have.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So,
cool.
so immediately it defines, you know, the barn versus those trees. But, you know, this wall of the barn, if you look at the photo, the wall of the barn is actually a lot darker in tone than your roof.
Yeah,
So if I were to undo what I did here, I'd be tempted to use this tone for, you know, for this part of the barn.
so a darker color, a darker,
Right. And
wow.
once
Okay.
this is dark, then we can go even darker with, you know, the
trees.
trees. Look at this. So now we truly have the lightest light is
Yeah,
the roof, the mid-tone is the wall, and the darkest dark is the trees.
now the mountains, those will be a mid-tone, right?
They would be, you are correct. So this would be,
Okay.
the tree would be the darkest dark, and I'm using black, but it doesn't mean it has to be this dark. But I'm gonna go back now, oops, to the mid-tone, which is this color. And I'm gonna make the mountain in the back a mid-tone color.
God, I love that gray.
What a
It's
nice
pretty.
tool you have there. I mean, that,
I think I have it on my, well, I don't know what this one is, but I do have a painting thing on my computer.
I have to,
But it's hard to do what she's doing, to
Oh.
use the cursor. I can't even make a straight line.
So, so see, now we have, I can make it thinner.
Yeah,
So now we have a lightest light, a mid-tone, and a darkest dark that are very well defined.
now
And
when doing the roof on the top, how much would you extend it? I think just a little bit more.
so for today, this
I'm just
is
gonna-
the drawing that you're starting with.
I already traced it too.
And so therefore just stay with it.
Okay, all right.
okay.
But
That's
see
good.
where the darkest darks are?
Yeah, wow, makes a big difference.
Yes.
That's all that you need in terms of darkest darks.
Okay,
And the mid-tone you can see, and then, you know, this mid-tone should probably is, you know, all this
Yeah, that'll be-
bushes
yep.
here that you have. And, you know, it's very crude what I'm doing with the computer,
oh no, it's pretty good.
but you should do your own shapes.
Okay.
Yeah, I just put a few in there.
Yeah. So that's it.
And should some of the grass be, yeah, it can be darker too, right? The grass along the barn?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm going to
Thank you.
save this and send it back to you.
Oh, good. And you know the other one you did, the other barn, can you send that to me too when you have a chance? No rush?
Do you mean
The next one?
Jonat's?
No, the one that we did and you made the corrections on it, on the barn. You told me to, you know, do it this way, and you said you'd save it and send it to me from
Oh,
last
I
week?
did. Oh, you mean in Thursday class? Yes, and
Yeah,
I
I'm
did
sorry.
send it to you.
You did?
Yeah, I always do after class. I send a
Yes,
recording and
I did get it. I said it's the second one you sent. I didn't get that. I mean, well, we've been having some problems with this
okay,
computer.
hold
The
on.
internet is screwed up everywhere.
So, Janet, you're talking about the watercolor class. I think Leslie's talking about the acrylic class that
Acrylic.
Leslie's taking.
Oh, okay,
Yep,
okay, okay. That's fine. Okay.
So, I can send it again to you, Leslie.
I'll look again in my emails. I didn't see it, but I'll look for it. So you don't have to be, you know, sending.
So this is the one that I did, and you can see these trees on the right-hand side
Mhm.
and above the extension here, they're clearly our darkest dark, and they read really well. And the wall of the barn, which
Is
is a
dark.
dark red,
Yeah,
is clearly our mid-tone. So I made it our mid-tone, as well as the back mountain here. And the grass in the front is kind of a combination of the the mid-tone and the darks, and maybe there's the lightest light in some areas.
It's really good.
Now, one thing I want to bring your attention to is the roof. So if I make it a little bit bigger, do you see how this is our lightest light, but it goes towards a little bit of a mid-tone towards the top of the roof, because the roof is round, like this is a semicircle.
Yeah.
So, so this is what I did. And when we paint it, we can do a graded wash here. So that should be interesting. All righty then.
Well, I have a quick question.
Yes.
Somewhere in the basement, I mean, I know I had bought one of those, the whiteouts that you paint on the paper.
Yes.
I couldn't find the tube. I mean, if I happen to find it and, you know, you paint it on so you can paint over.
Yes.
I forget what the name of it is, but don't you have to be careful if you put it on, don't you put it on like right before you paint and then you take it off right afterwards? Because I remember years ago, I was painting something and then I put it aside for a few days and that white, the stick-on would not come off.
Oh, okay.
That's tricky.
I'll have to look, and so I mean, I'm not doing, because I said that would have been easy to have the windows just, you know, if I could find the you know, the white out and then just paint over it, you know, and the windows would be there.
Right.
But, you know, I know that there is, because I remember once I don't know how many days went by, but it would not come off.
Yeah.
My
So
God.
this thing you're referring to is called masking fluid.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Oh.
That's it.
So
Okay.
if you want to buy some, it's called masking fluid. It's extremely expensive. A small little bottle will run $20 easily.
Yeah, I know it wasn't cheap. So
Yes.
I'm going to look further in the
Yes.
basement, and if I find it, I'll try it out just on a piece of scrap paper and
Right.
see if it's still okay.
Right. So when using masking fluid, if you use a brush to dip into the masking fluid,
Right.
make sure to clean your brush immediately, because otherwise your brush will be completely ruined. And I actually recommend,
that
if you
happened to
have, I'm sorry, I just finished my sentence. If you have
Sure.
an old brush, use the old brush to
Okay.
dip into the masking fluid. And you're right, to do the windows and actually to do these lines, see these lines that are going to remain white, this, and also on this side of the barn, that would be very useful for that.
Okay.
But since we don't have it, we're going to save those spaces.
Yep, that's right.
All right. And so we did the drawing. Well, when we were in class, we did the drawing in a half page like this. This is a 9x12 book. And we did the drawing on a 9x12, half of a 9x12 page. Is this what you did also?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So this size drawing is what I had asked you to transfer onto your watercolor paper, onto a half page.
Yes.
So I think you did a full page, Leslie. And when I realized what you sent me this morning seemed to be a full page, I did not correct you because I didn't want you to panic. Just use the full page.
All right.
And paint the full page. It really doesn't matter a whole lot. But
Okay.
before we move on to this project, I wanted to show you a couple of little other exercises that I've prepared for other classes that we may do in the future.
Yes.
So this is one that's
Wow.
you know, trees and rocks and the little wispy grass in the front. So it's something simple. So we would use the flat wash. We would use the wet on wet. and we would use
Wow.
those, you know, the little grass here that we
Yeah.
practice so much. Yay.
I
Yeah.
love the contrast of the teal and the yellow, gold, whatever it is. That's
Yeah,
incredible. I love that.
yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And then I also practice doing some water. So like this.
Oh,
Ooh,
So
very
that
nice.
could be fun to do.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The trees in the
Beautiful.
background look really, very interesting.
Yeah.
Like the ones in the background that are kind of a wash.
Look at
Yeah.
the image in the water. I love that.
Yeah, and then the reflection in the water.
It's
Yeah.
perfect.
Plus up front too with the
Reeds.
yes.
The
What are
reeds.
the one, yes, the ones with the little things on top of them.
We see them all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. In French, we call them quenouilles.
Canoe?
Canoe.
Yeah. So anyway, that could be fun. This is mostly a study of the water and the reflection in the water. And then I
Beautiful.
have this one, which is a winter scene.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
That could be fun too.
I feel like I'm in it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, these are things that I did not invent them. I got these exercises out of books.
Mhm.
But
Very nice.
why should I invent everything? Why don't I get inspired by other teachers, right?
That is excellent.
Yeah. So it's a little bit of, how do we paint the snow and how do we reflect having a little snow on a pine tree? It's kind of fun with a little fence.
Yeah.
So-
And if you make a mistake, you can correct it. Easy.
Well, with watercolor, that's always very hard to do.
Yes.
Well, cover it up with something.
All right. So let's look at our photo. So our barn in black and white. Can you
Interesting.
see how this wall is a lot darker than the roof?
Yeah. Oh, what
So the roof and the sky are clearly our lightest light, and then the wall of the barn and the extension are clearly or mid-tone. If you compare the wall of the barn with these trees here on the right and on the left, well, the trees are clearly the darkest dark. So looking at something, a photo in black and white, it really helps.
Yeah, it does.
Now, if I go back to the photo in color. Look at this. Isn't that nice?
Mhm.
So when we look at this, we can see the barn is red, and we have the green grass, and then now I have a question for you guys. This roof of the barn, what color is this?
Great.
Yeah.
Light
Right.
gray.
But is this a greenish gray, a yellowish gray? What kind of gray is it?
Yellowish? No. I don't know. I
Maybe,
see it a little bit of yellow, but that could be my eyes.
yes, I see a little bit of yellow. Is
Yeah.
that a little bit of purple up near the top?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, I see the yellow.
And I see a little bit of purple now that you said it.
Only at the top.
Well, you guys are very good because it's actually a purplish yellow.
Oh,
Oh, all
Yeah.
right. We each
And
get- Yeah.
therefore, when I say let's make the gray for the roof, what colors are we going to use?
purple,
And
yellow.
yellow.
yes. So we're going to mix those two colors.
Okay.
Purple meaning we're going to make the purple with blue and red,
Mhm.
and mix it with a little yellow.
Yeah.
So now if we look at the overall, all of the colors that we have in here, and we think about the color wheel. So what are the three main colors that we're going to use to paint this?
We have red for the barn,
Yeah,
green,
yes,
blue,
So this back mountain, is it blue or is it more indigo or more teal?
Ooh,
Ooh,
So
like a
is it
purplish
a
blue.
blue that has a little yellow in the blue or a blue that has a little purple in the blue, the mountain in the back?
A little bit of purple in the blue? No.
Well,
Yellow?
Well, you have to look at the picture to decide, not at your color wheel.
No, I'm not. That's what I think it looks like. It looks like it's not teal. I don't see teal, but I see a really
uh,
pretty blue with maybe a little bit of, dare I say, no, not green.
So
Purple?
if I blow it even bigger, I'll try to show you.
okay.
So do you see here, right here in this little area,
Yeah.
there is some purple here.
Oh,
Purple.
Do you see this?
Yeah, I can't,
okay,
my thing is,
right
It's
on.
too small. Yeah, sorry about that. The picture is grainy, but what I see here on the back in this bluish color, it
yeah,
has a little yellow in it, a little bit. So it's more of like a teal color than an indigo.
Okay.
So we could paint it blue or we could paint it teal. But we definitely will have like a green color here, very dark with a little bit of red in it. And this will be a red color. And then to paint our barn roof, we're going to use that purple with a little bit of yellow, or yellow with a little bit of purple in it. And what about the sky?
very light, I think. Blue with a little bit of white.
Yeah, just kind of a
Yeah,
thin.
this is watercolor. The white, we don't use the white paint in watercolor unless we made a mistake, we want to correct something. Because
Okay.
otherwise with the white, it gets very pasty. So in watercolor, we use the white of the paper. So we're
Okay.
going to do a blue that is very transparent.
Okay.
All right. So in preparation for painting our barn, you can prepare your colors
Okay.
that we're going to use. And this is our approach. This is what we're going to do.
Ooh, I have to, maybe in the fall or something, but
Yeah.
not right now.
All right. So can you see my little setup here?
Yep.
Okay.
So this is a scrap paper where I did different little tests. So I'm going to paint on this, but I have my little palette right here where I have my yellow, I have my green, my red and my blue. And so using a clean brush, I'm going to make a little purple here with a mix of red and blue. That's a pretty nice purple. Let me take a little test strip here. So this is a pretty nice purple.
Yeah.
Right? And but it's pretty dark. There's quite a bit of pigment. And let's say I prepare some yellow right here. So I'm going to put it right here. So now I have my purple and I have my yellow. And so if I were to just put some over here, some of this yellow, and take a little of the purple and put it in it. Even a little bit more. So now I'm getting, it's kind of a brown color.
Yeah.
Greenish brown. So I think I need even more purple. I'm going to add a little bit more purple to my mix. Oh, it's getting very interesting. So it's getting to be an even darker brown, you can see. Now, what if I add a lot of water to this mix? So I just dip my brush into my water. I'm just getting a lighter color, a lighter version of the same color. You can tell here. And it's still very yellow.
Mhm.
So how about if I add even more purple? Ooh, now it's getting to be more brown. So we're still in the same color scheme. So how about if I take all of the purple over here and I just add a little bit of this mix. And I test this on my paper.
Mm.
Oh, it's mixing with the red that's already on the paper. But look at this. If I use this and even more water. Now this would be a nice gray.
Yes, it would. It is.
It's a little bit more brown. So now, if this gray is a little bit too brown, I could add just a little bit of blue to it. So let's see, now I have this color that I just used to paint. I clean my brush, take a little blue, just a little bit, very, very little bit. And I mix it here with this. Now take some water, I'll put it on my, wow, look at this.
Oh,
Oh,
This
wow.
beautiful, beautiful gray.
Okay, so purple. And then you just add what?
So what I did, I started with my yellow and my purple, and I mixed these two, and I got some kind of a brown.
Yeah, that's what I got.
And that's the color that we have here, which could be a very nice color for the roof, this.
yes.
Now to this mix, I went back to my palette and I added a little blue. See, I have this mix right here.
Yeah,
So I dip into the blue just a little bit, not too much. And I mix this with my blue. Now I get, with a lot of water, I get, oh, yet another version of a nice, this would be another nice gray. This
Yeah.
one's a little bit more greenish than this one.
Okay.
If I want to go more towards this, I need to add a little bit more blue to this. So I could dip into my blue and say, okay, let me add a little blue to this. Look at this. So we're getting the gray again.
yeah, but it's,
All right.
And this is very bad paper because it's lifting, and like the little crumbs of the paper are lifting. I think it's a leftover for something. Anyway, so this is how you can make your gray. Now, if you're going to paint your barn roof, you need to first wet your paper, then using the color, put it in there, and it's going to give you a very nice light color.
Good.
So now I've turned this upside down. So this is my drawing. As you can see, you know, the barn and the mountains. I think the barn's a little too long. Maybe I should made it a little shorter, but for the purpose of the demonstration, it's going to work. So now at this time, I'm going to paint this whole section, sky, roof, barn, mountains, all of this gray. So to do this, I'm going to wet the whole section. So I take a large brush, large flat brush to do this. So I could use this one. I could even use this one. But since this is a pretty small portion, so I'm going to use this. So I'm going to wet this whole section. With clean water. And I'm going to have this mix here that I'm just going to, let's pretty cool gray.
Okay, so what is that mix again?
Okay,
Get it.
look at this.
Purple? Purple?
See, what did I say here?
Look at this. Nice gray.
It is gray, but mine's not coming on. I don't know why.
Ah,
what
okay,
is
well,
it?
because my paper is wet, I just want to paint it while it's
All right, go
wet,
ahead.
and
Go
then
ahead.
we'll talk again about the mix of it, okay?
The perfect gray.
And sometimes I just add a little blue to this. So I'm just gonna paint this whole section gray. It's a very light gray.
That's what I want.
And when it dries, it's almost gonna be white. Oops, went over. So I'm going over the whole thing with this nice, beautiful gray. And now I'm adding just a little blue to it. Because the sky is almost blue. There. So now I have painted this whole section gray. And we can see it's gray because the white of the paper is still white. But once it's dry, it's gonna almost look white. And once we add all the other colors, it's gonna look like it's white. Now, how do we make the gray? That's a very good question.
Again, from me.
Okay, so gray is always a mix of the three colors, Leslie. Yellow, red, and blue. It's always a mix of the three. But to make a beautiful gray, and to make it light, you will have to add a lot of water.
A lot of
So,
water.
I'm going to take this, while this is drying, I'm going to put this aside. And take this paper again. So how do I make gray? Now maybe the way that I'm trying to explain, it's not really,
No, it's me.
but maybe we'll try a different approach and maybe that might work better because different people learn differently. So let's start with the blue. Okay, this time I'll start with the blue. So I'm starting with some blue. Oops, gotta go like this. So I'm starting with some blue. Okay, now blue is pretty blue. It's very obvious it's blue on the page, right?
Yep.
Now if I dip my brush in water and try here on the side,
It's lighter.
it's almost gray already. Look.
Yeah. Yep.
So maybe starting with the blue will work. So now in this blue, you really have to put just a teeny little bit of the other colors. That's the secret.
Okay.
So here I have my yellow,
Yep.
and I have some dried up yellow on the side here. Do you see this?
Yep.
So I'm going to put my brush in this yellow and mix it with my blue. And now putting a little bit more water on my brush, I'm going to put that on my test paper. And look, it's another version of a beautiful gray.
There it is. Yep.
Hmm.
It's what you start with. Yep.
Right. And now to this mix, we're going to add a little bit of red. So see, I have a little bit of dried up red right here on the side. I'll
Yep.
pick this up, mix it with my mix, and put a little water on my brush and put it here on my test again.
Yep.
And look at this, another
Gray.
version of a gray.
Yep.
Is it working for you?
Well, that steps are good. I'm going to try them. I haven't done it yet. I'm gonna do it. I'm writing it. So
Okay.
I don't have to ask you 9 million times, how do you make gray?
Yeah. But these are all beautiful grays that could be used.
Yeah.
This one is more of a bluish gray. This one's more of a greenish gray. And this one, more of a gray.
It's nice. All right, I'm going to try
But
that.
they're all beautiful and they could all work. So sometimes a more simple approach works better.
Then
Even
trying
like
to,
when I'm painting. So starting with a blue is a good approach because a blue that is very light could very well be used as a gray. So this might be a better approach for you. It might work better.
yeah, it is.
There you go.
I
So
took,
now,
and I wrote down the steps you took.
okay,
Me too.
and it's recorded.
Okay. Oh, that's yes, but I still took the steps down, so.
Good. So now that this is almost dry, and look how dry, how light it is. This is almost white.
It is.
So this is almost dry, but I just want to make sure it's completely dry before I work on it again. So I'm going to paint my grass. Now our grass color is a nice mix of the blue and the yellow. So if I want it lighter, I can add more yellow. If I want darker, I can add more blue, or I can add a little red in my green.
Green.
So to paint this, I'm going to first wet the whole section that's the grass. So I'm going to wet this. Uh-oh. Oh no, something's happening up there.
Happened to me.
Oh well. So I'm wetting this, and I'm making sure it doesn't drip on the other one below. And with my brush now, I'm gonna start with a nice light green. Look at this. Isn't this beautiful?
Ooh,
See, I went, geez, I think I did it wrong.
whoa.
So I'm covering it with my lightest green. I went over here. And as I'm doing this, I'm adding a little bit of a darker color, darker green, certain areas. Like here we have a little bit of, I don't know, and I'm adding a little bit of my red to my green in areas where I want it to be a little darker. And when I want to create some lines that leads the eye. So when adding more pigment, then it will be less runny and it will stay in a certain area. See how it doesn't run so much because I added
Mine ran.
more pigment.
Yeah.
But running is not a bad thing. So now I'm adding just yellow on top. And when it's dry, I will probably come back in and add certain areas even darker than this. But so far, this is what I've created for my grass.
Nice.
Okay. Now, while this is drying, I'm going to paint my mountains. So to paint my mountains, I'm going to turn it upside down. And I know I have the very light mountain, like a mid-tone color mountain here. So that's the barn that's upside down. So I'm going to turn it upside down. So we all know we have the barn here in the middle. And right here in this area is a very dark part of the mountain because it's trees that are closer. So this will be our darkest dark. And in this area is the faraway mountain that will be kind of grayish purple, which is a mid-tone. So what I'm going to do this is I'm going to mix a mid-tone color, and we said it would be some kind of like a blue with just a little bit of yellow in it. So I just so happen to have this color right here. So this is my blue, and where's some yellow? So there is a little bit of yellow here. I'm going to take it from here, and now this is a nice teal. So where's my test strip? Here it is. It's a nice teal color, but it's a little too dark to consider this my mid-tone. So to paint this, I'm going to add a little bit of water. And by adding a little bit of water, it's already a lighter color. And if I were to smear it around, then it would be a nice lighter color. It would be considered more of a mid-tone. This here is more of a mid-tone than this. So with using this mid-tone color, I'm going to paint all of the darkest dark trees and the background mountain. Then I will come back with the darkest dark tree on top. Ha!
Wow.
So using this color, I'm going to start with this side first. So this is where I have the darkest dark. So I'm going over the darkest dark and the faraway mountain with this nice mid-tone color. And remember, it will dry lighter. So once I've painted it, I leave it. I don't keep painting it. Now I'm going to paint the other side, which is over here. It's right above my roof. And with watercolor, it's better to paint fast, because if you paint slow, then you will make streaks, unwanted streaks, if you will. Now this is the area where I will have the darkest dark. But for now, I'm just going with my mid-tone over this portion. And now, even before this completely dries, now I'm going to use my darkest dark, which is a nice deep green. So blue and green and yellow with a lot of pigment in it. And using this with maybe a little yellow, a little red, that will be even darker. Yes. And I'm going to paint my trees here. My darkest dark. With a good brush, you can pretty much do anything, even detail work, even if it's not the small brush that you have. And so I'm going to do the same thing here. And on this side, this is how my trees are. My darkest dark right on top, even though the previous layer is not completely dry. Voila. So that's done. And then I also have the tree that's like this that we had decided to put. Now look at this sky. It looks white, doesn't it?
Yep.
All right. So now we have the darkest dark on either side. We have the faraway mountain. We have the sky that's already painted. And I went over a little bit over here. So, oops, better. So now I'm going to correct that. Because right here, See, I went down a little bit too much. So I'm gonna straighten that out with my, I dried my brush. I'm just gonna go like this. To make it straight. And then using my, there we go. So now it looks straight. You can also do that with a little pointy thing there. This looks a little funny. Just fix, yes. Okay. So now it's time to put the red on the barn so that there is some brightness here. All right. Now, what color did you use to put on your barn? Just a plain red?
No, I mixed a little yellow into it.
Okay. What about you, Leslie?
I just did red with, yeah, red.
Okay.
But I
All right.
just,
So I'm going to do just red. And I'm actually going to wet it a little bit before, because it's a rather large surface. So I'm just wetting it a little bit, not too much, so I don't want it to be running. And I'm going to just paint it with red out of the tube. Well, the little, with a little yellow, I mean, little water in it. Saving the white. Now, how do we make the shadow color, Johnette?
let me see, I wrote it down here. Okay, the shadow of the building, it said, use the same color, like the red,
The dark.
and so that would be red with a little bit of blue. Okay, so the shadow of the same color, and it would be more harmonious.
So use the same color and add its complementary in it.
Okay, I didn't write that down there. Add same color, use complementary.
Right. So what's a complementary of red in this case?
Red.
Purple? No, go ahead.
Uh,
Lime green? No, green.
Green, yes.
okay. I have a color wheel somewhere, but I have to find it. Red. Green.
So I've added the complementary color and put in, you know, those in the red to do my my shadows here. I didn't wait until the red was dry to add the shadow, because this way it blends a little bit more with the actual building.
Okay.
And it makes an edge that is a little softer.
Okay. Because what I think I will do is I will try, use to lighten it by putting water down and,
Oh yeah, that's a good method.
putting the paper towel on it.
Yes.
Take up some of the.
So now I'm mixing again the red with a little green to make this section.
Okay.
But I should have waited until it was completely dry so that I have sharp edges. But I'm just going for it. All righty then. Now we have a nice red barn that's responding to those darker areas, and that's responding to our roof. I think it's time to get a little action on the roof. I'm just trying to make the edge a little sharper by lifting a little color. Not something that you should do. Okay, here we go. So the roof, before you start painting the roof, it's very important that you have made up your mind about your gray. How are you going to make your gray?
Okay.
And I would suggest to paint it in one swoop.
All right.
So wetting the roof before you paint it is a good idea. So you can paint like you can wet the middle,
Then paint.
a little bit like this. And then once it's wet, then you can start with your gray. So how do we make gray? I think starting with a little bit of blue is probably the way to go. And I'm going to start from up here. My big brush. And it looks dark, but it's actually going to dry lighter than this. And now because I wet in the middle with clean water before I started, it's mixing very well. Now I put my brush in the water and I'm going to try and blend that whole thing like this.
Nice.
Ah,
And now we'll have a roof that looks a little like this.
yeah.
Yep.
And using the same color, I'm going to put some on here on either side. That's the little thing that looks funny that we don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
So now I put it on either side, and with a brush that I dried, I'm just gonna go lightly to soften the edge.
Okay.
See, now it's looking like this.
Looks good.
Yes.
Very good.
And look, the secret to this roof is to paint it and leave it. And look how nice it responds to the red here.
Yeah.
So now I see here, I went over in the white area. So I'm going to lift this little area here.
Okay.
See it?
Yeah, I did too. That was hard.
I'm going to lift that like this. And lifting depends a lot about, you know, if you are painting with a staining color or not.
Okay.
See, what happens now is it's actually my brush touched the red and it put some red on there. And my red is more of a staining color.
Ah,
So it's not lifting completely, but it's all right. So looks a little bit more straight.
well, you really have to have a steady hand.
Yeah,
That
that's
helps,
the key. Yep.
yeah. And now I'm lifting a little bit of, I had gone over here. So I'm lifting this. All right, so look at this. It's starting to look pretty good now. I see that in my greens, in the nice grass in the front, I don't have the very dark green that I want to have. So now that it's dry, I'm going to add this, but I'm going to try and add it with a dry brush. So I've created my color and I dry my brush a little bit on dry paper towel, and I'm going to use this. Oh, it's still too wet to paint this, you know, this little greenery that's over here, and then going quick like this will give the effect of dry brush. Now, it's better if you have more paint on your brush, but something like this will help. A good quality paper help to do things like this. Now you can go like this with your brush to create the effect of grass.
Yeah. Very
And
interesting.
yes, so you can go crazy with that. See, you can go like this. You can almost like destroy your brush. And I mean, I put a little bit too much of it now, but it makes it more interesting. So now that it's gone a little too dark, I'm going to use just the white, the yellow go on top to lighten it a little bit. Kind of interesting. Now we have this.
Oh,
Nice.
really a great.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
We aspire to be close to you.
Yes, I know.
You know, just close.
Talent.
God.
Years and years of study